It's
Oh, it
it,
is absolutely, it absolutely is more than amazing. It is a marvel in an architect of what it is. And of course, terminal. It's a mall that basically is supposed to be like an airline terminal where you go in and they have signs to London, to Paris, to to Istanbul,
and
and
that's each
basically
floor.
like yeah, terminal, and it's really big. It's huge, 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 huge.
And if you ever get
Anyway,
to Bangkok, they have the best food mart and the most economical food mart on the top
oh,
floor by far.
we ate there the other night.
Yeah,
It's almost like you're stealing their food. I
yeah.
mean, the average dish is 32 baht. That's the
Mm.
average dish. So whatever you want, and you could order as much as you want, but 32 baht. So let's break it down. 32 baht is like $1. That's what it is. So last night or the night before, I had some duck. I had some wide uh, Asian noodles. I had a Thai cucumber salad. Bo had a Thai crab salad, and she had some sort of Thai pork dish as well. And the whole thing came for both of us 220 baht, which is $6. Like
Yeah.
ridiculous cheap. And that includes drinks. So yeah, Terminal 21, I recommend it highly, the top floor. But it's also a mall. So they've got a top supermarket, which would be like like an Albertsons or a Vons or a Gelson's or a Whole Foods.
Burger or
It's a
whatever.
nice
Yeah.
market. But anything you think you could buy in a mall would be at the Terminal 21 Mall. And by the way, speaking of that, let's welcome everybody. Hi, everybody. This is our 187th meeting, Thinking Out Loud with Friends. We're talking about Bangkok right now, but that doesn't mean that's what we're going to stay on. We talked about the weather before you got here. We talked about musicians. We are talking about whatever pops into our head. So, anybody have anything that there's popped into their head that they'd like to share?
Well, I've had a wonderful week dealing with utility providers blowing up my home. So that's been fun. They decided that it would be nice to send 220 volts down my neutral in my house.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Wow, why did they do that?
Well, it's almost getting legal at this point, but it was windy and something happened on their transformer and boom, every piece of metal in my house was energized. All my
Well,
conduits, everything.
I thought maybe you overpaid the bill and they just wanted to give you your money's worth.
Yeah. No,
No, not
it's
quite.
not been.
Do you know that guy I was talking about in Miami?
Oh yeah, yeah. I contacted him. He said to send it down.
Yeah,
So
he can fix anything, especially old Meyer stuff.
yeah, yeah.
I shipped
It was
stuff to
on
him
the
from
bench.
here.
It was plugged in on the bench. And kablooey. Uh anything, I lost printers. I mean, the total right now is over $11,000 and
Oh, what a
climbing.
bummer. Sorry to hear that.
You know.
Don't you have surge protectors on your stuff?
Part of that $11,000 are all the UPSs and the surge protectors that gave their lives for the equipment that's connected to it. But also too, it blew my meter across across my backyard. It launched it like a missile.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
So was it 200 volts or 220,000 volts?
I had I have single phase coming into my house. So normally in America it's you get one leg 110, another leg 110, you got a neutral. You get 220 across those two. Well, they put a combination of both legs down my neutral.
Wow.
So my ceiling fans were running at 400 volts. They were about to take off like jet engines. They were, I mean, like propellers. I was running around the house.
Not for very long.
turning them off. And cause I could smell the coils melting.
Yes.
Wow. Now, was that
it's-
everybody in your neighborhood or just you?
Myself and a person on the other side, the same person, both of us on the same transformer.
Now, how is their responsibility going to shape up in to help you get through this tough time?
My insurance company is going after the utility. Utility's saying it's an act of God because it's raining, and the insurance company's going, hello, this is Florida. It rains every day. Come back with a better reason. So they're arguing it out. I just got to pay the deductible.
It
And
just
I got a whole
amazes
pile.
me.
Microwaves. Oh, yeah.
Sounds, Greg,
Just
like you
be-
got high voltage down your house lines. The
Huh?
primary side of it sounds like you got a short from the high voltage of the transformer down your lines.
Yeah, it was a transformer sending, sending voltage down the neutral. It was a fused neutral, is what it's called.
Hmm.
You're being
Yeah.
punished for Ron DeSantis.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're all being
So-
punished for Ron DeSantis. That's it. Even no matter where you are, that's about it. So,
Yeah. I read
Okay,
one
so-
of the banned books.
oh
That's
my
what
God,
it
no.
was, and they detected it. It was an e-book. They saw it. It's all over.
Well, we've gone 187 shows without talking about politics. I can't believe it. And a Christmas show.
So
There you go. I mean, it's
so,
easy to talk about politics. I mean, but
Nah.
if we're gonna go down that path, we might as well.
No.
Well, Merry Christmas, everybody.
yeah.
It's a Christmas show, I guess, because we won't be, Christmas is in a couple of days. It's the 20th right now, where you guys are, the 21st for me. Does anybody have any plans for Christmas? Anybody got anything special they're doing for Christmas? David, what are you doing for Christmas? Vegas now, right?
Well, I'm in Vegas right now. I'll be home tomorrow. And then I'm going to stay home. Try to get stuff done. So no Christmas plans. Not this year. I'm working on New Year's. That's tough enough. I don't know what
Well,
I'm doing
New
there.
Year's-
Where
now,
playing on?
are you-
Are you with the Hotel California band or?
No, they're not working until January 24th. They
Okay.
take December off. So
Gertie, how many
When-
shows you've got for New Year's?
Nothing. Everything we used to do for New Year's went away. We used to do a thing
Really?
with 3 stages, all at the Experience Music Project, or Mopop now. We've been doing a little corporate in there, and I do have a little thing that's an install. It's part of the NHL tournament or something up here, and they're going to put this kind of village outside of Lumen Field where the Seahawks play, because they're doing it. I don't understand. They've got the brand new Kraken venue, but they're doing this thing in T-Mobile Park, which is where the Mariners play.
Right.
And they're going to walk out of there and go into this weird NHL village thing with all these different restaurants and bars and stuff. And so I'm just putting up a bunch of X40s and a bunch of UP Juniors and stuff.
Is that going to be
can
on
say
the
that.
1st of January?
We put it out on the 28th. It runs 29th, 30th, and 1st, and then we take it out on the 2nd. But they've got a guy it's some event producer from out of town, like from Colorado or
Are they
something.
hosting the Winter Classic this year in Seattle?
Yeah.
That must be
Yeah,
what it
they
is.
are.
Oh,
Tina.
okay. Okay.
But
Yeah,
they turned the
I saw
baseball
the thing.
stadium into a hockey rink when they have a brand new hockey rink like 6 miles away.
Oh yeah. I love those.
That's the thing, though, Kurt. They did it a couple years back in Soldiers Field.
Yeah.
In Chicago, in the middle of the winter. They did that. I mean, it's kind of cool, but then again, too, I wouldn't go to see a hockey game freezing my butt off. In a stadium, especially Chicago Stadium.
Yeah.
It'll be okay up there. In
Yeah, and
your
there's the
area.
roof. They'll have the roof closed, and I'm sure they're rigging
Yeah.
for the roof and all that. So, I mean, it'll be cool. I'm not doing anything inside. I'm just doing this playback system outside, and they got a guy
Mhm.
who's gonna run it and do the cues, and so we'll put it in, and then we'll go take it out. And so technically, I have a gig on New Year's, but I won't be there.
Now, has hockey gotten that big that they could play it in a stadium?
Well,
Yeah.
they do that. They do that every year.
Yeah,
Like the biggest one was when I believe it was the Red Wings when they played Toronto at
Yeah.
Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor. But the Winter Classic is a classic. It's the hockey teams. There's hockey
Yeah.
teams that play there every year,
Yeah.
just
so
in different
Tina, you
places.
sound like a hockey person.
I liked hockey with the Red Wings
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
when Stevie was playing. But
Yeah.
now he's like a GM over there in Orlando or something now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
remember.
won't mention the Lightning now here, because I do go to a bunch of Lightning games.
Or is it Orlando? Yeah, it is. That's where he's
Well,
at.
no, Tampa. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we did a job with the Panthers. I believe that they're a hockey team down south in
Yeah,
in
south.
Lauderdale area.
Yeah.
We did
Yeah.
a job with the Panthers, which was cool. But when I first started in the business, I was working for the mayor of Los Angeles, and I was doing celebrities for public events and commercials that for public service announcements. And Jerry Buss had just bought the Kings, and he couldn't get anybody to come to see the Kings. It was before, and he hired me to invite celebrities down to see the Kings play so that we could get more publicity so that people would start coming down. That was before he got Gretzky on the team and all that other stuff. And now, of course, hockey has exploded and it's huge. So, but that was my little contribution to making hockey a staple at the Staples Center. I guess that's where it is.
And during that time, that's when Myrna had season tickets to the Kings.
Yes.
So I used
That's
to
right.
go all the time.
Did you see that
Yep.
HBO thing, Winning Time?
What was it called?
Winning Time?
Oh, Winning Time. No, about the Lakers.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
no, it's
I'm
on my,
not even like a huge basketball nut or anything, but it's a really great.
yeah,
Can't
it's sitting on
recommend
my,
it enough.
it's sitting on my TiVo waiting for a
It's-
year now.
Watch it.
And the Winning Time is on what? Netflix? Amazon Prime? What's it on?
I don't
Probably
remember.
Prime, I think.
Yeah, it might have been Amazon Prime.
I
I
mean,
saw
it's-
it. I did see it.
It's so hard to choose which streaming services that you should have, but basically, what do you guys have? I mean, Wayne, what do you use down in Australia? Do they have Amazon Prime down in Australia? Do they have Netflix down in Australia? What do they have in your neck of the woods?
Well, they definitely have Netflix, but I can't tell you any information on that because I don't have any of them.
How do you watch movies?
No.
Oh, really? That's how you do it? Unbelievable.
It's not, I don't watch movies very often.
I understand the dogs are bowling. Woo.
Oh, shit.
Whose woofle was that?
I don't know. Maybe it was
Come on.
something from.
That's us.
Oh, that's you, David.
Oh.
Well, I'm glad they're adding to the show. That's
Yeah,
about
well,
it.
they're very
you know?
talkative.
Now, David, you have how many TiVos now?
I'm waiting for the dog to stop. I have, I have 5 TiVos, and we have Prime, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Apple, Peacock. We got them all.
Yeah.
Because my wife is in the business and she's got to watch her clients. So we have them all.
Wow,
Maybe
the
it's
dog
one
is
that the
really
dog can
excited.
watch
What's
right now.
going on there? What are you
Yeah,
getting,
it's
a
quite-
delivery?
Quite talkative.
I don't know. All of a sudden he started barking.
Yeah.
Sounds like a beagle.
Well, I would recommend anybody who has Netflix to watch Rebel Moon. It's a new sci-fi thing. A very good colleague of mine, and he did sound for the entire movie. So Dick Hansen, better known in the business as Rabbit, was Joe Perry's guitar roadie for years, and he also did monitors for Aerosmith, and now he's done so many films over the years. He's quite famous. So,
Well, they
definitely, if you get a chance, watch Rebel Moon on Netflix. I have, well, I always, you get Prime if you have Prime Movies, if you have Amazon Prime for shipping. So I have that. I do Max and Paramount, and that's and then I just added Netflix this year. And then
I remember.
I was just gonna say, and then I have HBO TV. So
Okay. So I remember when we all had cable, we were all complaining how expensive cable was. So we went and we started cutting the cords. Now we have so many subscriptions that it's almost the same as the cable cost that used to be.
But you could turn them on and off. That's what's nice with the cable. You had your package and that was it. If there's something I want to see on Disney Plus, I sign it up for a month and then I'm done. And then maybe 6 to 8 months later, I'll turn on Disney again, or I'll turn off Paramount for 3 or 4 months, turn it back on when Picard comes back on, or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't realize you could do that. I thought it was a 1-year subscription.
Nope. Well, just don't pay the bill and use another credit card.
Well, there is a card out there that I've been telling you about called Revolt. I believe that's what it's called. And basically you create a credit card, a virtual credit card for whatever you want to use, and then you put a limit on it. So when I buy a subscription, like for example to the New York Times, I put it on the Revolt card and they can't charge anymore. And then I have it shut off when I don't want it anymore. So I just shut off, and of course use an
That's what I need.
email address. Revolt is really good. I think they're having a special right now too, is that if you turn somebody on to it, you both get $75 or something. I'll look into it. No, if I do, I'll send it to you.
Yep. Shoot me an email on it, Dan, or message me on it. I'm interested in that because I'm tired of rotating credit cards. I just tell, if it gets.
Revolt is really cool in that respect. You just create a virtual card and you set the limit on what you want on the virtual card, and you put an expiration date, or you could cancel it at any time. So,
I just, I get to the point to where if they're being a pain about it, I just call the bank and said, listen, this is a subscription fraud. I need a new card.
Yeah.
Maybe you should use that
this
card
is a
for your
lot
power
easier.
bill.
Huh?
Maybe you should use that card for your power bill.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about all this power is my power bill is only $15 to $30 a month because, I got a 12 kilowatt solar array on top of my house. Okay, so that ain't no big thing, but you still gotta have, you can't totally cut the cord in Florida as far as power is concerned. Unless you got a generator, which I don't have.
Well, even if you do, they want you hooked to the grid so they could buy the energy for you and from you. It's basically the law that everywhere in the United States, where if you're generating positive energy, that they have to buy it from you. Yeah,
and when all this mess happened with my neutral, my transfer switch on my solar panel went kabam! It said, I don't want any of that. And
well, at least you saved something.
Yeah.
At least, it's not everything got kablooey. David put in some sort of system at his house that would probably have, if you had it in your house, probably would have survived that as well, right, Dave?
I don't know. I got a whole house generator, and they put in a giant surge protector for the whole house.
Right.
So
I don't know how that. But if you have a whole house generator, it's the same thing. You have to have an auto transfer switch,
right?
Because what that does is it cuts off the power side, so that you're not sending energy back when these guys are trying to fix, wires that are down in water that they may be standing in. You know what I'm saying? So,
Well, I definitely have an auto transfer
whether
switch.
it's solar or whether it's a generator, whenever they see anything weird going on the on the utility side, it's a huge magnetic clamp and it goes clack. And it just disconnects you.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, the transfer switch, the normal use for it is, of course, when the power goes off, the generator goes on and it just switches over. But I don't know how a whole house surge protector would work with what
no,
you
it
have.
wouldn't. No, because I mean that's the reason why my main breaker didn't blow. Because the voltage was coming in on the neutral.
Right.
So
Well, it's a good thing you didn't have a concert going on at the time at your house. You would have had to
well,
refund the
6
ticket prices.
It was 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, if I knew it was going to happen, I probably could have made a whole bunch of money on YouTube views by showing what my meter flying across my backyard. But no.
Was it loud?
Anyway,
Greg, was it loud when it went?
Yeah. I mean,
And
trust
I
me,
woke
I'm
you,
not
hey?
up at 6 a.m. So, and the dog here would just jump. Yeah, he jumped about 1.5 feet. And I said, what the, starts with an F and it's not Frank. And then all hell was breaking loose in the house. So the one bad thing about LED lights, they blow more than fluorescent lights do or incandescent lights do. They don't like over voltage or weird voltage. They just go, I'm out of here.
That's
Thanks.
crazy, man. That's crazy.
So
See, overmotivated electrons.
Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
run amok. If you let them run amok, they will run amok.
Well,
So,
and I'm really glad I didn't turn on a light switch and touch the faucet, because I wouldn't
it
be
just
here.
sounds like high voltage. It really does sound like high voltage coming through the house.
Yeah,
because
everything was electrified that was plugged in.
because
well, all I could say, Greg, it's a good thing you weren't using your vibrator at the time. That's all I could say. You're lucky. That would have been a YouTube video we could have watched. But speaking of that, has anybody seen the Netflix show Obliterated?
No.
It is hilarious. It's you have to suspend your disbelief system. But it's a 6-episode miniseries on Netflix, and I highly recommend it for it's a lot of laughs. You have to suspend your disbelief system because it's impossible for it to be real. But if you do that, it's funny. So that's something that I would recommend. By the way, did you hear that Barbie did over $1 billion in the box office?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And now they're not. You can't buy Barbie. You can only rent it online for 48 hours. You can't buy a Barbie DVD. They're just going to rent the bull crap out of it.
Well, soon it'll be streaming soon enough.
It is streaming, but for you pay $39 for 2 days. It's like the Eras tour, same thing.
Speaking of which, she's done over $1 billion on that tour as well. Beyonce has done almost 600 million. Springsteen's done almost 400 million. Coldplay, I can't believe it, but Coldplay has done 325 million last year. Harry Styles only did 290 million. Morgan Wallace, the country star, 285 million. Ed Sheeran, 268 million. Pink, Who would have thought Pink's tour last year did 231 million compared to The Weeknd, 221 million, and Drake about 41 million, or I think 41 million. Yeah, 41 million. I mean,
Well,
that's
Coldplay
amazing.
is huge in Europe and Scandinavia. I mean, Coldplay is huge.
I wouldn't have, I don't get it. They have like one or two good songs, and yet they seem to be, I mean, like they are really racking in the dough. I mean,
Yeah.
thinking about that they did, $325 million this year on their tour. Wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot of
Well,
money.
I think you should add in Barry Manilow on that list. Yeah.
Hello, Ken.
I don't see him on the list, but maybe he's just, bubbling under the top 10. Hey, Ken Newman's in the room, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Jan, who were you talking about that you don't think was very good?
No, I didn't say. I just didn't think that they had many songs that would warrant that kind of money, and that was Coldplay.
Oh, they do stadiums. They are huge, man.
Yeah.
They are freaking huge. Do you follow them at all? I look at them on Instagram and they play huge shows with sellout crowds.
And
Yeah,
what's really cool about how they do it, they put up a like 200 yard by 200 yard spring loaded dance floor, and that generates energy, and they go ahead and take that energy and they have transfer switch and it pays for the lights, and then also you pay extra. They have 200 like Peloton bikes that are hooked up to generators, and so you watch the show and you're pedaling while watching the show.
Maybe that's what happened to your house. Was Coldplay playing in Florida that day?
Somebody was, yeah.
Some guy got the
Oh
camera
my
on at the
gosh,
stadium?
that's insane. Do they do that everywhere they go, Greg?
They have been.
They did it here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and they have
It's
electric
more than
semis. They're
amazing.
not Teslas. I think they're Volvos.
Volvo makes an electric semi, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Volvo
Well, anyway,
does make an electric semi.
well, that is so. What number are they on the top grossing tours?
Dan, what number
Number
were they?
10.
Hold on, I just deleted it, but give me a second and I will put it back and see if I could. I don't know.
They're
I
in the
think they were
top
like
5, I think.
320. Yeah, I think 325 million. Let me see if I can get it.
It was Taylor,
Tina, you have it still?
Beyonce,
On the notes.
Springfield, and
What do you need?
The tours. What position was Coldplay in the
Number 4.
overall scope?
number 4.
Wow,
That's
top
amazing.
grossing. So it was Taylor Swift, Beyonce. What was after that?
Bruce
Bruce
Springsteen.
Springsteen.
Wow, how about that? Well, it's too bad, all those bands, they have to divide it up amongst the bands. Taylor, it's just Taylor.
Yeah.
Well, she's giving it away like there's no tomorrow, man. She's
Well,
giving
good
it
for
away.
her. That's amazing. Good for her.
I mean, everywhere she goes, she picks some charities and gives away millions and millions of dollars to the charities.
But think about
she's
this,
definitely
guys.
amazing.
All of those top 5 were Claire Global.
That's scary.
That's so how much money does that mean Claire was making of that?
Ooh.
You can't count that high.
Nice. Well, Claire,
Yeah,
for what it's worth, Taylor Swift used to be an 8th Day account, right? And it
Yeah.
became their account because
Yeah.
they got. What
And
about
I'm sure
what about
that's
the
how
other
they're
ones?
going to divide it up, when I'm saying, oh, that was 8th Day, but 8th Day's got to, pay the piper, so to say.
Well, here's an
Wow, how about-
interesting thing about money and bringing back in the sphere, because if you could see the logo this week, it's Santa Claus going down the chimney of the sphere. But basically, I hear they're losing a ton of money. A ton of money every day. They're losing money at the sphere. And Bono generated 109, almost 110 million through their first 17 shows. But the Sphere is definitely losing money, and I don't see how they're going to be able to survive over a period of time. You know?
But their quarterly report showed their quarterly report showed a operating profit, but not overall profit. I mean, you know, you still got a $2 billion expense hanging over your head, but
Yeah.
operating
Hey.
profit, they made money.
No, they lost money. They're losing money. They're
They
just their
put a
power
report
bill
out
alone
after
is.
their CFO left, though.
I heard that they're losing money. Matter of fact, I spoke to somebody who very intricate into the Sphere organization and
Oh.
told me they're losing money hand over fist. But you know, it's, you know, hey, do your own research. Everything you hear today is an
Yeah.
opinion, so do your own research. But listen to this: the 360-foot Sphere interior dome is 160,000 square feet, 16K video screen. Wow. 160,000 square foot, 16K video screen. That's the audio designed by the German firm Holoplot, uses state-of-the-art beamforming and processing that ensures every listening gets an ideal experience. It's also so precise, it requires engineers to input the ambient temperature and humidity of the Sphere for every show. And that's what Kenny was talking about, is that they have to keep the temperature at a constant level inside.
Well, that I had heard that was relative to. I mean, that may be true for the holoplot, but I think I heard it was relative to the simple expansion of the building, and so that it wouldn't damage any of the LED, elements.
Yeah, well, I would bet that would be the thing. Sitting out in the Las Vegas heat, it could get up to 120 degrees easily, baking on those tiles.
Right. Look,
Easily.
look at what's going past Greg's house. It's like a fire truck all done up in Christmas lights. That's funny.
They're on their way to you, Greg. Take care of
Is that
you.
a high-speed fire truck?
Yeah, very high speed. Yeah.
You know, there's a study, speaking of, cars, there's a study that they just did, which is kind of interesting. Okay. And because you've always heard that if you have, if you want to be impressive with people, you have a fancy car, is what they say. So owning an expensive car does make you more attractive. Premium car ownership not only seems to make you more attractive to the opposite sex, it also makes the owner themselves believe that they're more attractive and socially superior, said a Federal University of Rio Grande Norte researcher. So basically, yeah. So if you got a nice car, you feel better about yourself and you're more attractive. What do you know? Who would have
Sorry
thought?
about the
My
interruption.
imagination.
And that's news.
Yeah.
There's no news. No news is good news. That's all I can say.
I think that's very evident in California, especially where you are your car.
Yeah, absolutely. California is real. It's amazing how your identity can be shaped by the car you drive, how superficial that is. But it's true.
That's California for you, or at least Southern California anyway.
So what's
So-
what's the top promotional car then? At the
I mean,
moment?
the one that's the most common?
Yeah, the most exuberant.
Well, I think Tesla, everybody has Teslas everywhere. And, but there's
That's the
fancy cars. If you go to Beverly Hills, you see all the fancy cars, right? Ferraris and Rolls Royces and
Maserati,
McLarens, all those things.
So which would be the top one of the exuberance? McLaren?
I've always been a big fan of the Rolls Royce. Some of the Rolls Royces really can get up there in value, and they're just really cool, especially the convertible Rolls Royces.
Have you ever driven one?
I've never driven a Rolls Royce.
My friend Daniel leased one for a little while just to see what it was like because there's their take over my lease kind of program. So he was
Right.
able to, there you go. That's great, Kurt. AMC Pacer. So,
Yeah.
oh, Gremlin. Sorry.
Gremlin.
So,
Gremlin.
sorry. Didn't mean to insult your Gremlin. And that's what, a Rolls Royce? Is that a Rolls Royce there, Wayne?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's a convertible Rolls Royce.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Corniche.
Yes,
Well,
that's
The whole
about as
thing
close
about
as I'll get to a Rolls
Rolls-Royces-
Royce.
and Bentleys, those are the cars that you want to ride in the back seat. Somebody else drives.
It's like
Unless it's a
riding in
Bentley
your living room.
You wanna ride it.
Very nice.
I gotta go. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
David.
Have a-
Happy
Bye,
Have a
David.
Merry
holiday.
Christmas, David, and
Happy
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 Happy.
Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. Talk to you
Yeah.
soon.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
David.
And
54
Merry
Austin
Christmas to
Healey.
everybody.
Thanks for sharing.
Yep. I got
Alright.
a 54 Austin Healey in the garage that needs to get rebuilt.
Wow. Nice.
Wow, that's a nice car.
1954. Is it an Austin Healey Sprite?
No, it's a B4 or something.
Wow. Okay. I'm not sure I know what that is.
Doesn't have the
but,
bug eye lights. It's more classic looking.
Wow.
My dad bought it from a guy that was a vice president at Boeing, and it was his summer driver car to work, back in the early 70s. When I was a little kid, I could ride in it. And it was so low that my dad, he would smoke a cigar sometimes, and he could lean over and crush it out on the pavement at the stoplight.
Yeah.
Wow. That's low.
And so
I
got
owned
that
a
back.
Lotus
I've got
Europa.
I got a second engine. I've got all the little badges and all the hard stuff to get. He just shut it off and was going to rebuild it, and then he never did. So now I've had it for about 10, 12, 15 years now.
How
Well,
about
it's something
that?
that you got to be motivated to do that. You got to be motivated. You
I'm
know?
going to do Aerosmith's Gamble here right after Christmas. And then after that, maybe I'll dive into the car.
Very good.
That's a lot
So-
of work. Kurt.
Well, I got to do something. I don't want to play golf.
Yeah, well,
Well,
that's-
it's got to
Let me
take
ask
you
you-
at least. Go ahead, Ken.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. That reminds me of a story I heard. So the keyboard player in Manilow's band bought an old Porsche 911 from the backline guy years ago, probably 20 years ago. He bought it from him, and it was old at the time. So he just kept it in nice shape and hardly drove it ever. He was able to sell it recently for enough to buy a brand new Porsche, if that tells you anything.
Whoa.
Yeah, they hold their value and increase in value.
That increased in value a lot. Yeah.
The guy that owns Telefunken is really into him. Tony, he collects them. Old
How
ones.
about that?
I wonder,
there's Josh.
especially during
Hi,
the
Josh.
pandemic.
hello, Josh.
I guess especially during the pandemic, that would have been the values of those cars must have went really high.
I was just really impressed that he was able to get a brand new Porsche with the money he got from selling an old antique one,
Out doing
One
it
of the
up.
biggest mistakes I ever I regret is I had a Lotus Europa John Player Special
Wow.
in 1976. I love that car, black with gold trim. And it was like one of those cars, Kurt, to where literally, you can open up the door, put out your cigarette, right on the pavement. And I sold it, because I was on the road so much, I never drove it. It was sitting in a garage in Ohio. And so I just said, okay, you give me 12,000, it's yours. Now they're worth, 6 figures.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Who knew? Boy, if your crystal ball had been working,
Yeah.
you would have held on to it, but who knew, right?
Yep. Well, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So-
In those days, you probably could buy a gallon of gas for 35 cents.
Yeah. But, then again, too, me on the road in those days and the way things were in those days, it's a good thing that I wasn't driving,
I can't say the same. I thought I was a good driver no matter what. I guess I was. Very few accidents in my life. I've been very fortunate. Although, although I've had less than my fair share. The accidents are just not fun, no matter how you look at it. Most of the accidents I've been in were somebody else's fault. You know, so, but it's still, you're part of the accident. So anyway,
Doing
what
a-
else do you guys want to talk about?
That's what it looks like, Ken.
Oh, that's a bit flash.
Wow.
Oh wow, how about that? Oh
Doing a
well, I
car-
hope you get a chance to work on that and bring it back to its original glory.
Yeah, I mean, I know a little about car. I rebuilt a couple things, but British cars are different, and there's a tool set for it apparently called like Whitworth or Wentworth or something like that. It's not metric and it's not standard. It's something else. And if you don't
Yeah,
use those wrenches, then you'll strip the bolt out.
Interesting, but it's some sort of a hex type of thing. Yeah, it's not like
Yeah, I
a
mean, it
store
looks like a
Torx
regular
or-
socket wrench. It's just it's not US standard and it's not metric. It's some
Oh,
other
interesting.
dimension.
What is it, Imperial?
I don't know. I must be.
I think it is Imperial. I've got some Whitworth spanners here, and I've got Imperial spanners, and I've got metric spanners. I quite enjoy doing cars up. Well, I've done a few up and my current car is 39 years old, which I was working on this morning, and it dribbled petrol all over me because the bloody petrol pump's leaking, and I need to replace it. But I've done a bit of a temporary repair, and hopefully it'll last for a couple of weeks until I get a pump.
That's impressive. Today, you can't, with the new cars today, you can't do it yourself. I mean, I would think with the way they're basically all driving computers. So you really can't.
Not
do
only
it. You can't
that,
really
it's
fix them for
drive and
yourself.
replace. There's no turbo rebuilds anymore. You just buy a new turbo. Period.
So if I build
Yeah.
a big road case, can I ship this thing to you, Wayne, and have you fix it for me?
I don't know. I might take it's hard work rebuilding cars. I've rebuilt two.
It might be cheaper to ship you here.
Probably
Yeah.
cheaper than me to go there.
Oh man, Wayne in Seattle. I can see him now. Oh my goodness.
Now, the one thing about rebuilding your cars is your hands stay dirty for weeks afterwards. Weeks after it. You just can't get that grease out of your hands, no matter what you do, under your nails, whatever. It's just your hands just get dirty.
You know what's
Unless you wear
worse?
gloves.
Yeah,
But
gloves is a good
Jan,
idea.
Kurt's rebuilt Gambles. So,
But those are clean.
Well, not really. You get inside of that thing, and there's some stuff
Let's get some stuff in them.
down inside of there that you need to be careful about, especially depending on who owned it.
Mhm.
You know what I
Well,
dislike, Jan? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. What do you dislike? I can think of many
It's not
things.
really a dislike, but when you work on cars all day, and I was a fridge mechanic, which is sort of similar but not quite the same. The oil in that was a shocker because it was hydroscopic. So if you got splurted with it, it would soak water. So if you went and had a shower and you had it in your hair, you'd have to have like 5 showers before it would all come out because it was hydroscopic. But when you worked on a car or something and you worked on, like even this morning, I wasn't even in the greasy part, you can wash your hands and you can get most of the oil and the grease out, and it doesn't come out of under your nails for a few days. But the smell stays in your skin. The oil smell will stay there for a couple of weeks sometimes if you work for a long time on them, and it stays that way. But on the oil thing, on the refrigeration oil, if I've got 2 seconds, I'll tell you a little interesting story. I was going to do many years ago, 20 years ago, I went to change an oil in a little compressor, commercial one. Anyway, I was nearly finished. You got to seal it off, and I changed the oil and with the valves, and you have a little 1-inch plug on the side of the compressor. So the apprentice is there, and I'm looking over the top, and when you finish, you've got to purge all the air out of the compressor. So to do that, I would just crack the valve so that a little bit of the pressure would push all the air out of the compressor. This day, I happened to slip with the little spanner, and I'm sitting over the 1-inch hole of the compressor. Every single bit of oil came straight out all over me. It's dripping off my glasses and out of my hair, and all the apprentice could do was laugh. And I go, find me the spanner. I want to close the thing down. Oh, Jesus, I stunk of fridge oil for about a bloody week.
Right.
It doesn't have
Is-
much smell, but
Is that when you came up with that famous line, and what? Quit show business? Was that you? What?
No.
And quit show business? You know, that's it. You know, that's it.
oh, I'll never forget that, because it was the oil was running off my glasses and my face, and all the apprentice could do was laugh.
Well, all I could say, it's a good thing you don't work for NASA. Otherwise, it would have been really a disaster. You know? I mean,
Oh,
have you guys seen the new pictures of Pluto? I think it's Pluto. I mean, they are capturing so many pictures with this James Webb telescope, which is off the hook amazing. I just saw, you know, they captured a picture of the Milky Way, the heart of where we live, the Milky Way. If you haven't seen these photos, Google photos from James Webb, and you will be amazed at what they have there. Amazed.
You could just
You
end
know?
up with Dragnet reruns, though, too.
You could. I would
Yeah.
think that would be something that you might, you know, because of the Webb telescope, Jack Webb. I get it. Yeah. See, I'm slow, but I'm not that slow. That's it.
That was a Jan level comment, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was,
Hey,
Targeted.
listen, on that same topic, they just passed legislation to all private space organizations that they got to clean up their junk after their launches, and their dead satellites, because the amount of space junk right now is getting to the point where I don't know whether any of y'all saw the movie Wall-E. It's exponentially increasing, and so you know, they've mandated that commercial space organizations have to clean up their third stages and all their satellites. They have to figure out a way to deorbit all that stuff to where it burns up and it doesn't hurt anybody, or send it to the sun.
So you mean there's lots of satellites out there that are no longer functioning, but they're still orbiting?
Yes.
Oh yeah, and space junk, things that have
bits and
fallen out.
pieces, I mean, there's bits and pieces of the booster that sent up Sputnik still orbiting orbiting the Earth.
Holy shit! Wow, and it's not an endless amount of space, apparently, right?
Well, it
Yeah,
isn't
at
endless
one
amount of
point
space,
we're going to
but-
run out of it.
but
What do you do?
it's in that
send
level
up
of atmosphere. So it's in that level above the planet where which is where the satellites need to go, and the space junk has the potential of destroying the satellites by running into it.
Yeah, I think Mel Brooks actually had a great idea. If anybody's watched Spaceballs, there was the big vacuum cleaner that was sucking all the air out of Duridia. Well, just put that around the Earth and let it suck up all the space bunch. Hey,
It worked in the
He was ahead
movies.
of
It
his
should work
time.
in real life, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk right now has got like how many Starlink satellites up there?
Thousands.
And I was just reading an article about how he is controlling so much of the communication now on the planet that it's scary that a personal company, not a government company, is controlling the communications of the planet.
Hey,
Pretty
you can get
amazing.
Starlink in the Kingdom of Bhutan. So, and it's great because when you're landlocked by the Himalaya and China and India with their lovely infrastructure, and that's a note to any of y'all who've ever done a show in India, you'll know what I'm talking about. So yeah, so people are going to Starlink left and right, and in this tiny little kingdom in the kingdom, in the Himalaya.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what he's accomplished with that. It's mind blowing that he has come up with so many good things and also so many bad things. But I guess that's how it is. You're not judged on your failures, but you're judged on, how many times you fail and keep on going. So there you have it. The other thing is that, we're all looking at all of this artificial intelligence, right? And there was an article that I read right now, which is really pretty amazing, that only 25% of all the artificial intelligence advice given for medical purposes was correct. That means if you Google something, oh, I've got this, or I've got this wrong with me, and these are my symptoms, 75% of the time, you're going to get a wrong diagnosis. So be very careful about that when you Google your health conditions on on artificial intelligence. So don't chintz out on going to the doctor. I wonder who put out that article. Let's see.
Amen.
Oh, by doctors. Oh, it was written by doctors. That's right. So who knows if it's accurate or not? Do your own research.
Hey, listen, as a cancer survivor, my doctors tell me what to do, I do it.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, I had relatives that still don't want to talk to me because I got all these different vaccinations and everything like that. I don't care. Doctor told me to do it, do it.
Well, if you believe in your doctor and you trust them and they've had some success, there's no reason to deny what they're saying. But sometimes you get different opinions from different doctors, and then you have to make a decision which doctor you want to go with.
Right. Well, put it this way. I've been I've been throwing faders since 1972. And I'm 70 years old and I'm still alive.
Yeah. Well, one thing I will say about it, and not specifically about you, Greg, so don't take this personal, but basically psychologists say they can't meet the growing demand for mental health care, right
True.
now.
Yeah.
So if, I mean, I think we all need it, especially after what we've all gone through in the last few years, that, mental care is really important. That was one of the reasons why I started this show, is just to, give people a place to go to and express their opinions while they're being locked down. And now it's, continued to go. It's continued to grow. It's continued to evolve. But what I read also in the health magazine right now, that loneliness epidemic right now, I'll read what this says. This is from the Surgeon General. The Surgeon General report found that people were becoming more isolated in the past few decades, but the COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated the problem. Research showed that 1 in 2 Americans reported feeling lonely or in isolation. In 2020, Americans spent about 2 minutes a day interacting with friends in person, down from 60 minutes a day almost 2 decades earlier. Young people aged 15 to 24 were hit particularly hard, reducing their in-person social interactions by 70% in 2020 compared to 2 previous decades. So I could see that that's happening. And I just want to let you know that we are here for you. And if you need somebody to talk to, well, at least once a week, you have an opportunity to come in and join us. So anybody have anything they want to say about that?
Well, it shows also too how the increased people are going down an internet rabbit hole more and more since the pandemic than they were before. Okay. You're talking about all these conspiracy theories, everything like that, raising to the top. I'm not talking politics. I'm talking crazy things, if you have time on your hand and you don't talk to people, all you do is you just, live on YouTube, live on Facebook, live on, name your social media platform, it's scary.
Yeah,
I
it's
can
very
see,
disturbing.
I can see people getting very caught up in that. What you're talking about, Greg, and just living for that, and then oh my God, their life as it should be goes right down the tubes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically what happens is they start to believe in that social media aspect, and it becomes their life and where they get their information and their social circles and all of that. And if I mean, you read about these young girls that commit suicide over the fact that they get bad social comments on Facebook or
Yeah.
Instagram or Twitter.
What I don't understand, maybe you guys know, but like, do you know who Twitch was? He was Ellen DeGeneres' sidekick on her show,
Yeah.
right? She did a tribute to him recently because it was the anniversary of his death or something, right?
Right.
And what I don't get was that she said just prior to him killing himself, he was as happy as could be. He was involved with everything. He was everything positive. I don't get it. So what happens with these people's brains that they feel like their only thing that they can do is kill themselves? I don't get it.
They don't
You
want to
know,
lose
one-
the high.
One
Maybe they
thing,
have a real mood swing, like that's not controllable. So they have levels of enormous amounts of enjoyment, and then at some points they disappear into a deeper, different sort of thing where they think the only way to fix themselves is to kill themselves. I find that as you said, I find that rather. It must be like you can feel bad, but to kill yourself is a different kettle of fish.
Okay, so somebody I know, I mean, I got this very disturbing email from his wife, I guess now his widow, that said I shouldn't say what it said, but it was very disturbing, and he killed himself right in front of her, it sounded like. And I was just like, what drives a person to do that? I can't get it. I mean, I know that when the last time I talked to him, which was a couple weeks before that, he was kind of cynical about he was an audio guy, he worked local in St. Louis area, and he worked with unions, and he was like, oh, these guys around here, they kill me. And he wasn't very happy about the other workers in the union, and he wasn't very happy about the kind of jobs he would get, but he was still making a living, I guess, and he was still surviving. And he has a daughter that has special needs. I'm not sure what kind, but some kind of special needs his daughter has. And I guess it became all overwhelming, and he killed himself right in front of his wife. What? I just don't get it.
well, the interesting thing about relationships, and I go back to W.C. Fields when he was asked why he never got married, and he basically said, I was in love with a beautiful blonde once. She drove me to drink. That's the one thing I'm indebted to her for.
Well, but to get back to
I can relate to that.
I did like in the Midwest, I did 15 shows with Robin Williams as a crew guy. And, and I've also done, Sam Kennison is kind of expected. But
well, Sam Kennison died in a car accident. He didn't kill himself. Robin Williams did commit suicide.
Robin Williams did, though, yeah. And, and I never saw that in anything. He was, he was great to the crew and sit down, he'd just come in and he'd sit down at dinner time with the crew out there, just be cutting up with everybody.
Really, but that's the problem with Robin Williams, that he never shut off. He just never shut off. Every time I was with Robin Williams, and Robin Williams was good friends with Jonathan Winters. And when I was living in Hollywood, we played tennis at the Oakwood Gardens Apartments in Burbank, and then we'd go to the Honey Bake Ham. And Jonathan Winters lived at that Honey Bake Ham. He loved it. It was a little coffee shop, that they served honey baked ham, and he would just go, and Robin Williams would come in there and visit with him. And when he was there, it became unbearable. after a while, you had to leave because it was just
Right.
too much. He didn't know when to shut off. But the problem with Robin Williams, what I heard, was that his last movie hadn't done well. He was having a lot of problems. His success was dwindling, and that I don't know if that's a reason to kill yourself or not. But the one thing I wanted to say is that the one person that really upset me the most, and I can't figure out why he would kill himself, is Anthony Bourdain. Now, this guy
Yeah,
seemed to me like he
no
had the
kidding.
best life of anyone imaginable. He had a beautiful girlfriend that he was in love with. He was a food critic. He traveled all over the world. Everything was paid for. He was successful to a point where he could still blend in with people and not have to worry about people saying, "Okay, I get a selfie with you," and that kind of stuff. But still, nonetheless, he killed himself,
Yeah.
and that's
It's
one.
crazy. I just don't get it. That's what I don't get about. I hear
Right.
about these suicides, and I go, like, what? Who just said it? That it's one thing being depressed, and one thing being like you're down and out, but to kill yourself, that's
Well, I think, Jan, because this is being recorded and broadcast, we should say if you feel like that, there are resources in each one of your countries. Uh, Google that
can
and
help
give
you.
them a call.
Yeah,
you
they do
know.
have a crisis helpline
Right,
for those
right.
people that are going through
Right.
mental
There's
crisis.
all kinds. There's all kinds of different crisis hotlines for each different. I mean, I know there's like we did shows for. Now I can't remember the name of the organization, but it was an organization of that helped basically gay kids that were having a problem with being gay, and they would be there for them. I can't remember the name of the organization, but anyway, it was fantastic that they were there for these kids that had questions and like were thinking about suicide. They could call and talk to somebody who would make them feel good about life again. But I don't get it. What flips that switch from, wow, I feel really lousy to, oh, I want to kill myself? That's a drastic switch, right?
Yeah,
Well,
I
there's
agree,
got to
Ken.
be some sort of thought process running through your mind that you can't solve. It's a dilemma that you can't figure out an answer for, and so basically, is you're in such despair that that's the only solution that you can come up with. But it doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
I personally see the thing. I guess the problem I'm having is that I can't picture it any life situation being so bad that the only solution is to die. And I guess that's
I
what happens,
can.
right?
I can, and it would be the only consideration I would see in that is that if you've been diagnosed with a chronic disease that is debilitating you, and that, for example, Lou Gehrig's disease it could be an example where all of a sudden you no longer have control of your muscle functions and your mind is still alive, but you have no way of expressing who you are as a person. I could see that might be something. Or if you have chronic cancer, whereas the pain is just eating you up alive and you can't survive because of the pain, then I could see that. I mean, we do that
That's
for
Oregon.
dogs. We do that for dogs. I mean, if we had a dog that was in a lot of pain, we would euthanize the dog. You know what I mean? But
But
with
that's different,
humans,
though.
not so much.
That's different. Then it's a complex subject. I have a relative who has done. I mean, she's an angel. She's done grief counseling and also suicide counseling, and the people who do that are just incredible, and how they can just put it in a box and then move on to the next person. They're the people that go in after a school shooting or a mass shooting and talk to the kids,
Right.
and sort them out. And there's people out there, even for, family members or friends, just go talk to one of those people and just say, hey, I don't get it. Can you help me figure it out? And they do. So,
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I think you should watch comedy. I think that's it's a
Yeah.
great way to cheer yourself up, is to watch comedy. I mean, seriously, I mean, I know people like people that who have gotten sick and they've just watched comedy, and laughter is the best medicine. And that
Mhm.
might be something that you would think, but there are plenty of ways. All you got to do is Google suicide prevention, and you will have enough resources to be able to help yourself out of your dilemma. And just remember, you could always reach out to me on Facebook or any of the social media platforms. If you need someone to talk to, I will be there for you. And I'm sure everyone on the panel feels the exact same way, that if you need
Now,
somebody to talk
So
to,
Jan,
you could reach out to me.
if I may, sorry to interrupt there, but I just got a bit keen to say, I was like Ken was saying, how you go from I don't understand how it goes from, everyone can feel really bad, like enormously bad at some point in their life. But there is a huge difference between killing yourself but here's an example of something, and I don't know any of these people. It was just an accident that happened a few years ago. So a family's kids went for a walk to get some ice cream and things down at the local shop. On their way home, a drunken driver ran over and killed the lot of them. Now, they were from ages from 4 to 17. You could understand the parents of that grief switching their brain into, can the human brain deal with that amount of grief? That's what and they're still surviving, but what happens after a while,
Well,
And-
it's basically, I'm just going to cut you short here a little bit,
Yeah,
because
you're right.
basically it's something that does happen, and everybody is different, but there is support out there for you if you need it. And with that, I want to thank you for, this has been a very heavy conversation just before Christmas. I don't really want to,
Yeah.
We've
go
been
down
hanging
the
through it.
path of this. Just remember,
wanted to bring this up, saying that, Kurt, we all have been geolocating your Santa decorations this holiday season.
They're
Have
safe.
they stayed in place? For all of you who don't know, last year, violent people came and accosted Santa and I think Rudolph.
Frosty. No, they took Frosty.
They
stole
took
my
Frosty.
inflatable Frosty off of my front yard.
Has he survived this year?
Yes.
well, they
Change
probably
future.
wanted it for their own yard. They were so enamored
Oh,
with
I know where it is.
that
The
they
guy's
said,
got it up
I gotta
across
have
town.
it.
No,
Yeah.
my daughter found it.
I mean-
I drive by it every
I mean,
day.
it's somebody stole my address sign. I bought this really nice address sign that just had the number on it. It said 1821. And the guy across the street stole it from me. Around the corner, he came and said, "Oh, put it on my house."
Before we leave the whole support line thing, one more point. There
Yeah.
must be some kind of a helpline or resource for people with a sweater like Josh has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what's wrong with my sweater? It's a Christmas
No,
Darth
it's
Vader
this
sweater.
ugly Christmas sweater now. Come on.
It's a depressing, ugly Christmas sweater. It's like
Oh,
dark
okay.
That's why I got it.
and
Darth
the only
Vader.
thing nice on it is candy canes.
Yeah.
Josh,
Hey,
where
listen,
are you
though,
right now?
he's-
I'm at home,
Where's home? What state?
Wisconsin.
Good.
Oh Lord.
We have
No
no
wonder you're
snow.
depressed.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
the
depressed
Packers
because of our
haven't been
Packers.
doing good. I mean, if the Buccaneers can beat the Packers,
Well, I'm already betting that the Panthers are going to beat the Packers on Sunday. That Carolina's going to win.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it.
And, well,
Hey,
I
but-
was just gonna,
but-
to your defense, Josh, I was just gonna say, well, you look like you're at a gig, so you're wearing a black, you're wearing black.
I was doing a little Christmas concert thing tonight, and I got another one
That
tomorrow
looks like
night,
a
so-
Darth Vader sweater, I guess. Is that what
It
it
is.
is? Darth Vader.
It's
Yeah,
a Darth
there you
Vader
go.
sweater. Star Wars Darth
That's it.
Vader. And in my
Force
front yard, I got a.
And Merry
my front
Christmas
yard-
to you too.
And in my front
There's a
yard,
guy
I
that
got a.
needs the helpline.
Yeah.
And I got a baby Yoda in my front yard, inflatable Christmas baby Yoda.
Very nice. Really, really
In a
nice.
manger?
No,
Oh, okay.
I might offend some of my neighbors. I might make some of my neighbors mad.
So
Have you
did
guys
anybody
seen-
get anything cool for Christmas, or anybody know what they're buying themselves for Christmas? Anybody buying anything some cool?
New
for themselves?
glasses.
I bought myself a whole new power toolkit.
Wow, congratulations. That's awesome.
Ken,
What brand
what are you
did you
getting
go
for
with?
yourself?
I went with Ryobi out of Home Depot. They were having a special up here, so I went
Good
with
brand.
them. Yep. I got about
Ken, what are you
$800
buying
worth of
yourself?
Ryobi tools for like $400.
What's your favorite tool in that Ryobi set of tools?
Right now, it's the multi-purpose tool that they got, the battery operated multi-purpose tool. I've used that. I'm using that a lot. Just doing
And-
work around the house.
So it's a drill type thing?
It's a kind of hard to explain. It's got like a little. You can put either a blade on there, you can put a sander on there, you can put whatever you want on there. You can use it for sanding stuff, or you can use it to like if you got a sand. Like I'm using it at an install, I have to cut a little piece of wood away. So instead of taking like a Zawzar or skill, so I can take this and it'll do the wood cutting for me and a real nice precise.
I see. Very cool.
So Ken,
Yep.
I was watching some of Barry Manilow's Christmas show. On
Oh, you get it
we
there in
talked about
Australia?
that.
That's on again tonight in the U.S. By the way, NBC. You check your local listings because tonight on NBC you'll see Barry Manilow's. It's called A Very Barry Christmas,
Yes.
and it's sound by not me, but I did the sound at the show where he performed.
So the
Well,
ones
right
I saw
now,
were
it's
YouTube
it's
ones.
The Opry. Night at the Opry on NBC.
Oh well, it's not that one. It's
not that
maybe
one.
it's after that.
But it,
Wait, what did
I,
you see?
I think I saw live ones because it wasn't the. I don't think it was the finished. That was very good, very good. But gee, he still performs, and the band is great. He still performs fantastic. He, for someone that's in their 80s, it's and they had. And I did like where they had the piece of footage I saw, which was someone's camera on the telly. So it could have been one piece I saw from YouTube, but some of them were live, and it was all very good. But
well, I like to say these last few years, if I have as much ambition as he does when I'm his age, I'll be very happy. He's quite an ambitious young man. I mean, inside he must be 25, and he's always changing this and doing that, and always trying to make something better. It's pretty amazing. The guy is like driven. I don't get it, but good for him.
It
he
just
enjoys
goes to show that he loves what he's doing, and that's really why.
Or
I love
something like that. He loves.
Props to you, Ken, for the live mic that far away. I tell you
Yes.
that much.
That's a way of life, Greg. That's just a way of life. That's what we do. You know, I get sort of on average one person per show in Vegas coming to me afterwards and saying either they're saying how great the sound was and how did I do it with him holding it so far away, or they say, is he lip syncing because he holds that microphone so far away? You know?
Yeah.
So my question to you, Ken, was, and I was watching all that, and I've watched it many times, and I'm going, that is hard work, having the mic that far away. I see now that he's got in ears, so that would assist enormously in game before feedback. But how do you even that out? Do you use a point where the threshold of the compressor is in when the mic's like down here somewhere, or?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, compression doesn't come into play very much because I'm always going for whatever the maximum level is that's possible, because he doesn't sing very loudly and he doesn't sing very closely most of the time. Sometimes he's right on it, but the challenge is it would be one thing if he just wanted a little music in the background, but he wants the band to be in the foreground, and it's like constantly a challenge to keep the voice and the music balanced nicely so that you can hear both of them well, and with the voice well on top, so that you hear every little bit of emotion that he's putting into it. It's challenging, but usually I can succeed at the challenge. Like when we did shows at Radio City Music Hall and we had to use the house system, and all they gave me into the house system was a left, right, and subs, I was at a loss because I just turned it up till it wanted to ring, and I said that's as loud as it's going to get. That level didn't get over the screaming and yelling of the audience very well at
Wow.
all. So I was constantly fighting to get him louder, and it was not happening. Just because they have the room well covered with their sound system, and that includes the orchestra pit, which is right in front of the stage, which means it's going to be a little hot right on the stage. And a normal performer with the microphone right up to their mouth singing pretty loudly, you can get that to 95 dB. But if you're singing quietly from 6 inches, 12 inches away, you're not going to get that to 95 dB very easily. You know what I mean? So it's because of the gain before feedback issue. So the next time I go in there, if I can, if I get a chance to discuss it with the house guys, I'm going to see if they'll let me bring in my own front fill system. I know they won't let me bring in the main system, but I think the front fills might be where I'm running into most limiting of the gain before feedback.
They did front fills for Tony Bennett, so I think you got a good precedent there.
What exactly did they do? What did they do with Tony Bennett?
They did front fills. That's all I heard from Night Bob was there, and he saw the show, and
because I could call Tom Young, who did the sound for Tony Bennett. I could ask him, but the thing is, they don't typically have front fills. They have the front fill or the front coverage of that area is from the center cluster, which is basically right over the stage.
No, it was down on the sides. It was on the sides.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what the possibilities are, but I'm going to try to work on increasing the gain before feedback quotient at Radio City, because we're going there again in April, and I don't want it to be the same as the last time we were there. It was not good.
Well, you'd have
Well,
to
you know what I thought,
zone
Ken?
then.
I go ahead. I'm sorry, Kurt.
You'd have to get them to
I
mute a
talked over
zone, a downfill zone, or the bottom part of this cluster. Just turn that.
Yeah,
off.
I mean, the house guy Mike was very helpful. Gradually, we did 5 shows. Over the course of the 5 shows, I think he was gradually lowering that to try to help me out, but he didn't tell me till after the 5th show. By the way, was that better tonight? I was like, wait a second, you didn't tell me. So I didn't realize I maybe had some more headroom that I didn't have the previous night. And it wasn't like I was, raising my level, hoping that it wouldn't feed back or something. I was just going for what I knew worked. And it was not what it should be. Let's put it that way. But yeah, that definitely we need to control some zones, and they're not into that necessarily. They use their system as a system, and it covers the room properly. And if the performer is right on the mic and is singing at a reasonable level, I'm sure it works fantastically. But I'm not sure what they do with Broadway type stuff that goes in there when they're using
labs.
Yeah, so that I don't know. They must do something different for that also, right? Because that's another gain before feedback challenge, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, people also
Absolutely.
Ken, people also embed microphones into clothing. Embed them into like a lapel.
Right.
Well, they can embed them into anything, but I think that you just need a clear shot from the mouth to the capture of the capsule of the microphone. But
all I can figure is if they're putting an Omni mic up here or the normal Broadway positions, or I get it if they're using a headset mic, it gets it pretty close. But that's from here to here. In my book, is about a 10 to 12 dB difference in level, coming from the source. So if the person is singing out all the time or speaking out all the time, that could be okay. But I'm not sure how they do it with it, if they're soft-spoken or not singing very loudly. It's just something that I have to research before I go back there. That's all.
Yeah. What
I'm
about
just
Omnis
curious.
and the lapels? That's what they do in film a lot.
I'm just curious, Kenny, what is the signal path of Barry's mic, including what mic and what capsule are you using?
Well, it's a long story about what kind of microphone we're using, so I'll shorten it up and say I used to use when I started on the gig in 1992, it was an SM87 on a Vega UHF wireless, and that worked okay. But then one day, my friend Harold Blumberg said, "Hey, try this new microphone that just came out. It's called the Beta 87. Here's a wireless Beta 87." And I used that, and I never gave it back to him because it was so much better than the 87. And the Beta 87 was the mic I used until I stopped working for him. And I don't know, 2004 or something, because it was directional enough that it had a decent amount of game before feedback. It had that nice crisp high end that he likes anyway. So it was golden. But then when I came back to work for him in 2012, I said, well, I guess we should use the latest, greatest mic from Shure. What's the latest greatest? So KSM9 was the latest greatest. I said, let's use the KSM9, and I've regretted it ever since, because if we were using a Beta 87, I would be not as worried about game before feedback. So anyway, it's a KSM9, and the interesting thing about that is that so his monitor scheme is a little different than the average monitor scheme. The monitor guy controls his monitors, but I send him a mix minus of the show, minus the lead vocal, minus the main piano, and then he puts that mix minus in all the speakers, and then he puts the lead vocal and the main piano in his ears. With lots of reverb, and so he gets the vocal and the piano in his ears. He gets everything else in the speakers around him, and his ear monitors are open. That is, he can hear through them because they're not closed ear monitors; they're open ear monitors, right? And his hearing, unfortunately, is, well, we don't know how it is exactly, but it appears that it has deteriorated over the years to the point where he only hears really well what comes through his microphone, because that goes into his ear monitors, and it's a very high-end accentuated signal chain. So anyway, his microphone ends up being his sensor for his hearing aids, if you will, during the show. His in-ear monitors are fed by his microphone, and anything he hears through the microphone, he hears really well. If he doesn't hear it through the microphone, he doesn't hear it that well. So point being that the KSM9 he's used to that, so I'm not about to change it and say, oh, you need to change to a different microphone because it has a better pickup pattern or something that'll give me more gain before feedback. So the KSM9, and for it's just a very standard signal chain. It's a UHF-R, and that's UHF-R still, because Will, the monitor guy, just doesn't want to change anything if it's not necessary, and UHF-R has been fine so far. So it's UHF-R, and it just goes into our splitter. The splitter goes into our respective mic preamps. Like for me, it goes into the SD rack and then shows up at the console. And then for front of house, I have many devices patched into it so that I can maximize the gain before feedback, such as I have a Waves, what's it called? The FBX or something? Feedback eliminator thing. It's like a automatic ringer outer, I call it, because it rings out. It allows you to ring out the microphone, and it's rung out to the max. I mean, I just have everything notched out. It's stupid, but somehow it just that sound that it results in works. And then I have it goes into a C6 in Waves also, which is a multiband limiter, so that when he gets on it a little bit, if he's singing loudly or louder than before, it reduces a little bit of the low end, because one thing he doesn't like is the low end. He makes it to sound nice and clear all the time. He doesn't care if it has any low end at all. He just wants it to be nice and clear. And then it goes into the processing in the channel, and then it goes to a drummer. What's the drummer compressor? Like a 1960 or something like that. Just for the fact that I can reach for that knob and turn them up if I need to. And every once in a while, if he happens to sing on it, it'll maybe compress a wee bit, but it's not really for much compression, like in the true sense of the use of a compressor. And then it comes back into the channel. And then, I should say, and there's also a Lake. There's also a channel of a Lake LM44 in there, so that I can EQ it just a little bit more, have a couple little notch filters in there on the Lake LM44. And then it goes to the vocal bus, which includes the reverb, and that bus also has an LM44 on it, so that I can do a little bit more tuning of that bus to get it a little bit more gain before feedback. And that's the signal chain.
Have you a couple months ago, you and I were on the same Zoom call about the Apple Studios, how you do with Robert, do this before you go to reverb, and then it's, cut high pass, low pass before reverb, and after reverb. Have you tried that yet?
No, I haven't tried anything different because what I'm doing is apparently working okay. I'm not about to change. Plus, I looked on the Digico console, and maybe it's there, but I couldn't find
Yeah, you can't cut it in.
high
Yeah.
pass. There wasn't a high pass and low pass on the EQ of the aux send.
Input, yeah, on the send, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I didn't see that. So I was like, you know what, I'm fine with what I'm doing. And so, and by the
Yeah.
way, he's one of those artists that prefers that reverb to sound very artificial, to have that every time he hits an S. I don't know what they call that.
Okay,
Julio used to call it ziz. I want to have lots of ziz.
Yeah.
So he likes lots of ziz. And if he listens to the recording and doesn't hear ziz, he'll be asking me why not, you know?
yeah. The other thing is, have you looked at Samuel Edwards capsules for your, they make capsules for Sures.
Yeah, I'm sure there are lots of really great microphones that would sound a lot better than
No,
KSM9.
no, just change
what?
the capsule.
Well, change what I'm still going to be different than a KSM9, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So and that's not in our vocabulary to change the
Okay,
microphone.
all right, all right.
You know, because it's like
Well,
it's his tool. It's his any
Right.
other microphone is going to respond differently, and he's going to
Yeah,
it's going to upset the
you'll be
apple
in
cart. Because
trouble.
the one thing
Yeah.
the monitor guy is teetering. Well, we're all teetering on the edge of success and failure constantly because we never know exactly what he's hearing with his impaired hearing range, as well as he's the one singing, so it's normal
Right.
that we're not going to hear exactly what he hears. And the sound that he prefers is pretty extraordinary, pretty different than what an average singer would like. So Will just says, I'm just going to give you what I know has worked in the past, and I'm going to continue giving that to you, and you're going to keep liking it. And he does. He continues to love it. So good for him.
Oh, cool. And
So
the crowds
change-
love it. So
yeah, and
congrats to you.
Change is not something we like. In fact, before our last show of the year, which was a few days ago, Will put a little piece of white tape on my board that says, and he wrote on there, "Change equals bad."
Yeah.
That's great. So Will is not into change.
So you're
Well,
not going to Vegas anytime soon then?
February, middle of February sometime. I think we start back
Oh,
up in
okay.
Vegas. Yeah.
Okay.
all right. Well, listen, I thank you for sharing that with everybody. We are now been way over our scheduled time for zooming to the real world out there in social media. I want to thank everybody and wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas. We'll be seeing each other before the New Year's, but I just wanted to say thanks so much. Wayne, thank you for the cup of coffee. Really appreciate it. That was very generous of you, more than kind. And I do want to thank you for that. And with that in mind, because we're so late, I just want to say bye to everybody. Just remember, everything you heard today was an opinion, so do your own research. And remember, you make it happen. So everybody can say good night, goodbye, whatever, and then I'm going to sign off. So there you go. Everybody out there in the world, thanks for watching. Remember, you make it happen. Have
And
a great
Merry
week.
Christmas.
And Merry Christmas, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye now. And we are off the air.
So now I can ask my question. To sound